This episode is brought to you by Amazon Prime. There's nothing sweeter than baking cookies during the holidays. With Prime, I get all my ingredients delivered right to my door, fast and free, no last-minute store trips needed. And of course, I blast my favorite holiday playlist on Amazon Music. It's the ultimate soundtrack for creating unforgettable memories. From streaming to shopping, it's on Prime. Visit Amazon.com/Prime to get more out of whatever you're into.
Subtle results, still you, but with fewer lines. Botox Cosmetic, out of botulinum toxin A, is a prescription medicine used to temporarily make moderate to severe frown lines, crow's feet, and forehead lines look better in adults.
Effects of Botox Cosmetic may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness may be a sign of a life-threatening condition. Patients with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Don't receive Botox Cosmetic if you have a skin infection. Side effects may include allergic reactions, injection site pain, headache, eyebrow and eyelid drooping, and eyelid swelling. Allergic reactions can include rash, welts, asthma symptoms, and dizziness. Tell your doctor about medical history, muscle or nerve conditions including ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease, myasthenia gravis, or Lambert-Eaton syndrome, and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects. For full safety information, visit BotoxCosmetic.com or call 877-351-0300.
See for yourself at BotoxCosmetic.com.
This episode is brought to you by AWS. Amazon Q Business is the generative AI assistant that can securely understand your business data, summarize results, and streamline tasks. Learn what Amazon Q Business can do for you at AWS.com/learn more.
Hey, it's Bill Simmons from the Bill Simmons Podcast here to tell you about Michelob Ultra Courtside. It's getting fans closer to the NBA with a chance to win prizes like courtside seats, a trip to All-Star Weekend, and much more. Check it out at MichelobUltra.com/courtside. Michelob Ultra Superior Access, Courtside 24-25 sweepstakes, no purchase necessary. Open to U.S. residents 21 and up. Begins on October 1st, 2024, ends July 1st, 2025. Multiple entry periods. Visit MichelobUltra.com/courtside for free entry deadlines, and official rules. Message and data rates may apply. Void where prohibited.
All right, back with another episode of the Blue Turf, and we are currently at, what do you want to call it there, Eric? The WFKCSD is?
The world-famous Kansas City Soccer Dome. Love the acronym, Thad.
Yeah, I don't think it rolls off my tongue as well as I was hoping there, but that's okay. This is Thad Bell from the KC Soccer Journal. Eric Berger with me. One significant portion of the Kansas City broadcast team. I used to say half, but now it's a third.
We're third, yep.
I don't know. You talk more, though, so I don't know if that's the right proportions, but
I can't help myself, and when I listen to myself on replay, it's like, sometimes it's better just to be quiet than it is to jump in, but it's a push-pull thing, that.
Well, I wasn't meaning talk more than Nick. I was just talking like more than Lux because you were
Oh, no, I talk more than Lux, but sometimes I talk more than Nick, and it's his show.
How did I go with Lux, the first home game?
It was good. Technically, we're still working out some of the logistics so we can hear each other and kick things over, but she's totally immersed herself into how we do things in Kansas City, which is terrific. So expect her to even have more presence on Sunday's broadcast, which will be on 38th The Spot in Kansas City and back on CBS Sports Golazo.
Cool. Another game on Golazo because you're getting like most all the ones here in the first month?
Yeah, we'll be back on Golazo for St. Louis on the 28th too, so it's a great opportunity for us.
One thing I do like about having Lux there as you guys get everything worked out is that you'll be able to get communications from the field a little better, understand some of the calls, hopefully. That would have been really good to have this last game.
Oh, you want to go there first, Dad?
I don't know. Do we?
Well, let's go there first, since that seemed to have gotten the attention of Comets management, Comets fans, Wave fans.
Social media everywhere.
We can dive in.
All right. Comets in Milwaukee home opener. We always thought they would be tough. Comets get out to a good lead. Milwaukee's making a little bit of a comeback. And there is a controversial moment. Depending on how you look at this, it was absolutely the right thing. It was absolutely the worst thing. It may have come down to just one moment of stupidity from a referee. No, this is not a general insult to all referees, of course. But what do you want to describe it, Eric? You're better at that.
Sure. So let me start with the end in mind. And the end is any opportunity to allow Wave fans to be self-righteous is a misstep. So that was the end in mind, and Wave fans were completely self-righteous in the aftermath of that. So let's just get that out of the way. And so there's an opportunity to course correct terms of engagement with those fans in Milwaukee throughout the year. That point addressed. In terms of the game, keep in mind that for the past 2 seasons, so last season and this, MASL is experimenting with a 3-referee system for each of the first 2 home games at each arena. So this was the first game in Kansas City, in Milwaukee. We saw that in Kansas City for the St. Louis game. 3 referees coming for the KC-Dallas game this coming Sunday. So the 3rd referee is in front of the Milwaukee bench, and everybody on that bench, a lot of people on the bench explode, counting 6 players on the field, and they're in the ear of the 3rd referee, who makes a move to raise a blue card, and the bench yells at Milwaukee goalkeeper William Bonahenne, Willie B, to come over so they can go 6th attacker.
Right.
If you watch the video clip all the way through, they're looking at Lucia Tetsane and claiming that he is the extra player on the field. If you play the action beyond that, you will see Zach Reggett is coming off the field and Chase on the short side of the bench,
right,
and then Chase Peterson is jumping off on the long side of the bench. That referee all of a sudden counts again, and from what I saw, and says, oh, never mind, it's not a 2. Meanwhile, Willie B has left his goal. Loose ball goes to Lucia Tetsane, who sees a wide-open goal. He launches it, hits above the goal, bounces off of Willie B, who's scrambling back to get the ball, and goes into the goal. What do? So you have, in addition to that 3rd referee, 2 very experienced referees that are part of the crew. Rich Grady has been doing this for a long, long time.
Yes.
Kyle Atkins, referee of the year. I mean, so you have some really good minds in there, and they're in a dilemma, right? What do you do at that point? It's a gray area. Sure, you can say, oh, there was a never mind moment, and so the referee didn't stop play, put the card back, but Willie B had already left his line in response to that. You can't turn back the clock, Thad, because one scenario would be, could they have blown the whistle dead at that point just to say, hey, never mind, we made a mistake, play on, and then none of this would have happened. And so forced with a dilemma there, do you allow the goal even though Willie B's ascent up the field was spurred by the initial delayed 2 indication? Or do you basically say, our bad, the fairest thing to do right now would be disallow the goal, and they went the latter route?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of factors in there that I really don't 100% know because I wasn't there. Video does not show everything. No replay showed enough of it to me. I never saw the card held up. I mean, so honestly, if it was, then that's probably accurate in what happened there. I did see the referee motion, reaching to his pocket, but I never saw it held up. I've seen, dozens of referees reach to the pocket, ready to pull it because they saw something, and they let it play out a little bit, thought through in their mind, didn't fully pull it out of their pocket. If it's a inexperienced referee and the players on the bench kind of incentivized him to do something that wasn't accurate, that's also part on them. There's a lot of factors to that, and there's not a right one just answer here, I don't think.
Sure. So social media blew up, people in typical MASL fan mode, and everybody launched in, and Willie B jumped in after the game and said, let me set the record straight. And from his vantage point, it was a delayed 2. He ran to the bench, and he wouldn't have run to the bench ever. So that explains why Willie B was outside of the goal. Right? The referee crew was in a no-win situation, if you want to look at like that, and they made a call. And I had a text exchange with head of officials Ryan Sigich. I know for a fact he's going to be addressing this play on the weekly show under review this Friday, so I would encourage Comets fans, all our other listeners, we may have a few Wave fans who listen to us, to take a look and see what he and Phil LeBlanco have to say in terms of how the laws or the rules of the game were applied in that situation.
And I think that's also one question I have there is there a thing in there that says, okay, we can just call back a goal if the referee made a mistake? And I don't know. There may be. It may just be a judgment call that doesn't have a rule. So
it's definitely a gray area, but I totally understand the rationale from the perspective of the crew and why they would have made that decision. Clearly, there are a lot of people in Comets Nation who would disagree with me, but this is where we are. I think that the challenge then is something that you and I discussed off air, that is, you never can know how that affected the trajectory of the game.
Right.
And even still, the problem for the Comets is, just like we witnessed in the final series last year against Chihuahua, Kansas City was leading over 59 minutes of this game, and they still lost. So you mentioned they jumped up early. They scored it in like 39 seconds in.
Yeah.
They held the lead until 8 seconds remaining and couldn't seal the deal. And so, sure, spend a lot of energy, get upset about this referee's call. We still, had they blown the whistle at that point, we still don't know how that game would have projected out. Would have the Comets held on? Would Milwaukee's one of the best six attacker units as Kansas City has experienced? Who knows what would have happened? But the challenge for Kansas City is Coach Stefan Stokic made the statement going into this season, we have to be 4% better because of what happened in the Chihuahua series last year. And first meaningful, it's not fair to St. Louis, first intense road game that they experienced this year. It's deja vu all over again.
It is, and I think sometimes I will give a little bit of difference here in that you have to be better at the end to close out games. Absolutely, they could have still won that game in regulation instead of losing it in overtime, which they still got a point, even though that's not what they wanted. But I also have seen at the highest levels of sport is a bad call, and you can consider it a bad call or you can consider it the right call, whatever. But from their point of view, obviously they considered it a bad call, and that's in your mind now that you got rooked, you got a goal stolen from you. So it's easy to sit back and say that. It's I've played in games where people got emotional and that caused us to make mistakes. It's easy to sit there and go, oh, shouldn't have done that. And I know that's part of the goal for coach, but it does go that way. We've seen it at, like I said, every level of sport, almost every level of anything. You get too emotional because you feel like you got something stolen from you, and now you're not at your 100% best, and you got to be at your 100% best to go into Milwaukee and do that.
Well, but this is called maturity, and I'm not saying that players are immature, but to win a championship, you have to be able to be mature enough to face adversity, and there will be adversity along the way. Players are going to get hurt. Things aren't going to go your way. You're going to miss airplane flights. I mean, all sorts of things can happen during the course of the year. In the end, did you find a way to overcome those challenges that you didn't experience? And we'll see about this Comets team. In terms of good things we can point to, another fast start, which they're showing right away that we're going to come out in these games and make a statement. You saw Reggett continue to score, even not at 100%. You saw Rian Marques, who's now, as of our day we're recording this, leading the league in scoring. So you have both of your target players clicking right now, which is really, really good. I think on the negative, if you go to YouTube, which fans have been clamoring, we need to be back on YouTube so we can watch the archives. Great. Go watch every single goal the Comets gave up and really look at what the challenges there were, either giveaways, defensive positioning, etc., and you get a sense of what Coach Stokic saw and is working on in terms of how do we correct these mistakes, because the way Kansas City came out, they should not have lost that game. They did get a point, which is good, because ultimately every point is going to make a difference in this playoff format as you try to figure out what seed are we going to have when we go to San Diego in April, but it should have been 3.
It should have been 3. Yeah, and I've also seen a lot of complaints about the point system there. Again,
but it is
what it is.
Here's the thing, Thad, and I get that everybody complains about everything. It's not just MASL, but it just feels like everybody in MASL complains about everything. The owners, the teams, the coaches, the players, they all knew the rules when the season started. So you can sit here and say, I wish it were a different way, but they all signed up on this. When they agreed, we're going to put our franchise in for the 24-25 season, they knew that this was going to be the point structure.
Oh, yeah, I don't have a problem with it. I'm used to hockey and other places
Sure.
that use that similar type of point system, so I have no problem with it. I'm just kind of laughing at people who are like, that's a loss, and I'm like, oh, it's an overtime loss. It's really a tie. But anyway, it's a point. There's a lot of times in past history, if you could just say you go to Milwaukee and get a point, you would have been, okay, cool. The only problem is this time you had the lead, could have won the game, should have won the game, and you only ended up with 1.
Well, and then the other thing, too, is it's not too early to start talking about playoff position, Thad, and also looking at where do you stack up against your competition. I think it's fair to say that many people have put Chihuahua, San Diego, and Kansas City in the top tier of teams.
Yeah.
Chihuahua won comfortably at home against Empire, and they look like the 2-time defending champions. San Diego, not so much. They lost on the road. So if you're Kansas City, you can say, hey, San Diego dropped 3 on the road. We got 1 on the road. So a little victory, moral victory, however you want to look at that for Kansas City, because the top 2 teams, that's where you want to be at the end of the regular season with the way the playoff schedule is set up. You want to be a 1 or a 2, and it's going to be a battle, probably Kansas City and San Diego, but we'll see. What's interesting, I don't know if you follow this on MASL Social, there are betting odds that have been updated for who's going to win the championship. And after San Diego's loss, they dropped to like plus 1495, wow. Which if you were – I don't bet. I don't encourage people to bet. Let's just say hypothetically, if you had some money that was burning a hole in your pocket and you could bet right now on San Diego at $14.95 to win the championship, that's a bet I might consider.
Might be worth throwing $10 at, huh?
It just might.
Who's at the number 1 spot?
Oh, Chihuahua, I mean, for sure. They're a safe bet. If you look at them, people are intimidated when they come into Corner Sport Arena, and few teams have figured out how to win there. And ironically, the team that has played pretty well there doesn't exist anymore. That's the Monterey Flash. So you have that going for them, and then they're no fear on playing on the road. They'll play you anywhere.
They will. And I believe that's their home is one of the 2 locations that's not doing the 3 referee experiment.
Yeah, well, I was watching Baltimore-Harrisburg, and I joked with a couple referees, and I won't name drop, but I had conversations early last year about this 3-person system, and I know it was a challenge for one of the senior referees in this league at one of those arenas. So I'm being extremely vague.
Yep.
It was either Chihuahua or Baltimore. It's like, how do you make the 3-referee system work on such a truncated playing surface? And so we saw 2 referees in Baltimore for that Baltimore-Harrisburg game.
I think maybe we should just hang a couple referees off the corner boards, like they can be above the play a little bit. What do you think?
Figure out what works. I mean, there's nothing that's going to be. If people are looking for perfection doesn't exist. And as we've seen in other leagues, and we've even seen in this league, incorporating a video system, there are no guarantees. No. I would say in Kansas City, we have one of the best video setups, which gives you several angles if you're a referee to look at. it's not the same at every arena. So it's not, the results of video review are not going to be the same at every arena because they don't have access, uniform access across the league.
Yeah, which is why VAR was not instituted on a lot of leagues initially, because not every stadium had the appropriate cameras to make use of it. You had to have a minimum amount of them in certain locations in order to be able to have a VAR standard. And that makes perfect sense. Again, it's a progress. It's not going to be perfect. I understand that. It doesn't mean you can't complain when they get it wrong, but
Sure.
All right, so back to Milwaukee for a second.
Yep.
Good start. Defensively, maybe lacking a little bit. Is there anything we can point to that was it a certain person having a bad day? Was it just Milwaukee having their number that day? I mean, is there anything you can point to?
No, so let me answer it this way. And again, I would encourage listeners to our podcast to take a look at the actual
all the goals.
All the goals. And for your convenience, go to MASL website, click on the game notes, and you can see the times of the goals. So that way you can fast forward to the right spots.
Right.
It's not like you can say there was one thing that happened, but I think just like last season, to assume that it's like the third line defensively that is making mistakes, that is not what happened. So uniformly, in each line, there are challenges, and we saw that last year, Thad. You, in fact, name-called some of the Comets stars last year in terms of, hey, maybe there's something there. And so, I mean, I'm not seeing anything that Coach Stokic isn't seeing there, too. And so
We know you have a lot on your holiday to-do list. And at the UPS Store, we're here to help with our pack and ship guarantee. Your gifts will arrive intact or you'll be reimbursed. Got holiday cards to print? We're also the premier printing store. We've got everything you need for every way you holiday. Visit the upsstore.com/guarantee for full details. Most locations are independently owned. Product, services, prices, and hours of operation may vary. See Center for details. The UPS Store. Be unstoppable. Come into your local store today.
It's just part of it is a mental process, and it's a mental game. Some of it's the system, but the shorthand, which will get me started every year, is, let's take Neto out, and that'll solve everything. I would just challenge anybody who has already posted that online, go look at the goals, and then come back and tell me, you can reach me on social media, I stand by what I said, or, maybe there's enough, I don't want to call it blame, let's just call it responsibility to go along.
Shared responsibility.
It's very easy in this game, and this is both indoor and outdoor, but particularly indoor, to blame the goalkeeper for everything. I think if you are at least 90% objective, you will find that there are challenges across the way, and giveaways that it wouldn't matter who you were in goal with, transition misses that it wouldn't matter who you were in goal in. And if I took a freeze frame of that overtime winner, I would encourage you, watch the game-winning goal, Ricardo Carvalho, all by himself, and look at how much space was there. And you tell me which goalkeeper in America is going to save something that wide open.
And if they do, it's luck.
Yep.
Because I think he was challenged at the boards and just kind of got free. And if that's the one, I watched all the goals.
Sanchez got free, and then he looks up, and Carvalho's all by himself on the transition, and it was just an easy tap-in game winner.
It was at the one, there was a defender on him, and he went to the guy with the ball, and then the pass made it pretty easy.
But yeah, there's. I guess my point being is, it's very easy to just point to one thing and say that's it. What they're going to be working on this week is something a little bit more sophisticated than that. And against St. Louis, they found a way in the second half to fill in your cliche, put the nail in the coffin, etc. Not so much against Milwaukee. So what they're going to want to do against Dallas is not only that quick start, but coming out of halftime and just basically saying we need to seal the deal and go home.
Yeah, it's always going to be easy to say they should have done this like they did there, but they're also very different teams in different situations. Again, this is not trying to slam on St. Louis, but Milwaukee is traditionally a much better team than St. Louis. And St. Louis, despite getting new players, they're even at the best of situations, they're still getting together and learning to play together. So Kansas City beating them in the same way, saying we should beat Milwaukee in the same way, it's a little bit different situation. And it was at home in Milwaukee. They had time to watch Kansas City. There's all these factors to it, slightly different situation. That doesn't change the fact that, yes, they still should have shut them down. It's almost impossible to shut any team down for a whole game or for a whole half. It does happen, but Milwaukee, with so much talent, it's really difficult for that. Dallas, I think, is a completely different team in this situation, too. I don't know how good they're going to be this year.
And we'll see who we see. And so we've been talking about this for the broadcast because we're still trying to figure out who's going to make the trip. We've seen in Dallas in recent years, not everybody travels for a variety of different reasons, so we're not exactly sure who to expect. I mean, my favorite player, if you go back a few years, is Jamie Lovegrove, and I made a strong impassioned plea for him to be MVP one year when Dallas went from the cellar to a playoff team, and you look at how things changed when he got on the field. But we're waiting to see who makes the trip. This is a team that underperformed last year, changed coaches. Terry Woodbury, longtime Comets fans might recall him playing for the Sidekicks, playing for the Sockers, and even playing for the Wichita Wings. And so this is somebody with significant indoor experience. And it's going to be really interesting just to see how this season plays out for them, because this was a team that had an identity, then lost a bunch of players to their crosstown rival, Texas Outlaws, and is still trying to reinvent itself.
Yeah. Do you have any sense of how you feel that they will do this year?
I don't have any sense at all. I mean, they have some pieces, but I don't know. They have individual talent on that team, and I think you can say that about St. Louis. They have individual talent on that team. It's just going to be a question of how has Terry Woodbury put his stamp on their culture, on their system, et cetera, and we'll get a glimpse of that on Sunday.
Yeah, they're still they're one of three teams that haven't played a game yet, so there's a lot of unknowns with those three, Sidekicks, Outlaws, and Utica.
Well, Utica is going to be interesting because they make a West Coast swing to start the season. Both games, I believe, on CBS Sports Golazo, so they go to Empire, and that'll be Empire's home opener. And then they go after Empire right to San Diego, and that'll be the regular season debut at Front Wave Arena. And so you'll have an Empire team that's a little leggy, a little tired. You'll have a San Diego team that's a little mad because they expect every time they go to Tacoma to win, and they did not. And they'll be doubly motivated to put on a good show for their home fans.
And we know the Sockers always behave when they're mad.
You said it, I did. And then with Texas, there's been so much turmoil there. Complete roster overhaul, coaching overhaul. Eddie Puskarich, who was Dallas's coach at the beginning of last season, is now the Texas coach. So new coaching staff, which you would imagine a new system there, and so many changes. Bye-bye Pollo Cortez, who's now with St. Louis. Bye-bye Luis Morales and Sebastian Mendez, who are now with San Diego. And you've seen other players cut. Ironically, Comets don't play Texas this year. So if they're really struggling, the Comets won't see the benefit of that
right.
in terms of their regular season record.
Again, I understand this league, and it's hard to make everything balanced perfectly, but it just seems weird when you have a single table and you don't even play the other team once. But
that is where we are. We didn't see the Dallas Sidekicks last year,
nope.
And so now there's opportunities here and there. And interestingly enough, Thad, and we're recording this on Wednesday, this is the 40th anniversary of the first time the Comets and Sidekicks ever played. And the Comets won that game at good old Reunion Arena in Dallas. And so
what was the score?
I don't remember. I can tell you where to go. Actually, I saw it today, but I'm not using the score in my game notes. I just reflected on that. I know they won. But if you go to Hot Winter Nights, if you're not a member of that group on Facebook, that's where I saw it today. And so I'll grab that nugget for Sunday. The other thing, too, is the original Comets sidekicks, and then the sidekicks in the NPSL, MISL 2 era, and then today, if you add up all the games played between Kansas City and Dallas indoors over the years, and there have been 60, Dallas is 130, Kansas City is 130 in the regular season play.
I will go out on a limb and say I predict the Comets will win this game.
Well, that's why Thad Bell runs the show. He can make those bold statements.
You know, Erik, you're a broadcast professional. You probably have higher standards than I do.
It's not an issue of higher standards. It's we talked earlier about the betting lines. Indoor soccer is so tricky. For me, making predictions, all sorts of things could happen. And take the conversation back. You talked about what the impact of one play had on the trajectory of the game, Thad, right?
Yep.
Would you have predicted when we were on this podcast last week that might have been the momentum change?
No.
No, right.
Which is also one reason I really rarely, I don't bet, okay? I hate losing money. I hate losing. So if I come to you and say, hey, I'll bet you $10 on this, it's probably because there's a really high reward at the end for that $10, or I already know the result. So that's your warning. Don't bet against me because I probably cheated.
There you go. Yeah, no, I think most people around the league would expect Kansas City to win. There's a different way to say that. But there are a lot of unknowns with the sidekicks. For Kansas City, they played more games than anybody else. Kansas City has played 3, and you're already starting to see knocks on players being held out of practice, players being held out of games, and this is what happens in the course of an MASL season. So Dallas hasn't had that experience yet, so you'd expect them to be just a little bit fresher, but you expect Kansas City to be closer to midseason form than a team that hasn't had a regular season game yet.
Yeah, that's true, and we're watching practice now and trying to see who's doing their best, who's in practice, who's out. Seems like only maybe 1 or 2 people is out of practice that we would hope would be available, but nothing that they don't have the depth to cover. So,
hey, maybe if we can pick up one thing before we seal the deal this week. I know there were questions in terms of Coach Stokic's goalkeeping decision going into Milwaukee, and some people ask, why would you put the hot hand, the 2-0 goalie on the bench? And I think, and I haven't talked to Coach Stokic about this, but with Nicolau Neto, you have somebody who last year was a top 3 goalkeeper in the league. You have a very, let's just call it an unfriendly environment there at UWM Panther Arena. I saw a screenshot of one of those KC Sucks banners, and so you're going to expect that. And so I think that was likely part of the calculus there. He does have the benefit of having 2 terrific goalies here, and it's going to be interesting to see what decisions he makes week in, week out, assuming both are healthy.
Right. And which is one reason Phillips started in the first 2 games was Neto was healthy enough to play, but he was carrying knocks that you prefer him to get some rest. If he had to come in, it was doable. Neto was practicing really well all last week. And yes, it's taking you're always trying to set up younger players. If you're a good coach, you're trying to set up younger players for success and not put them in a situation where they're going to lose confidence, momentum, etc. And there's never one right answer. There's judgment calls on all of that, and if it doesn't go as well as you hope, then you were wrong. But yeah, I totally understand why Neto was in there. He still was, no matter how good Phillip was in the first 2 games, and he was really spectacular for almost every one of those quarters. But it made perfect sense to start Neto.
And we'll see what we'll see on Dallas. That's a bounce-back game, and Kansas City cannot overlook them, because the worst thing you want to have happen is any repeat of last year where 1 loss leads to 2 losses, leads to 8 losses. And so it is cliche to play it 1 game at a time, but you have to focus on the here and now. Enjoy Christmas, and then get back at it for St. Louis on the 28th.
All right. I will predict a Comets win. I'll say 8-3 just for the fun of it. Again, I really don't care about predictions, so if I'm wrong, you can tell me. But
everybody, you know where to find Thad, either at Cable Dahmer Arena, I should say it, at the arena, but Silverstein Ice Center's field at Cable Dahmer Arena. Or you can find him easily on social media and share your thoughts with him.
Oh, absolutely. And sadly, I am going to miss probably half of this game, the second half. Daughter has a performance, singing, anyway, long story, but when my daughter has these things, she takes priority.
Family first.
So it's hard to miss those things.
You know what the good news is, Dad? Now that games are archived on YouTube, as so many fans wanted, even if you miss it the second half in person, by next week Tuesday, you'll have the opportunity to watch our archive online.
Well, it seems like they're getting out there 2 days afterwards for the most part.
Yeah, they said by 48 hours. So.
Yeah, so I will. It bums me out to miss it. My wife actually said, "Oh, so you're not going to go?" I'm like. She was surprised I was going to skip the Comets game. I'm like, I'm going to go, and probably for 1.5 quarters, maybe 2, depending on the timing, I'll be looking at my watch and heading out. So anyway.
So drive safely, turn your app on, listen to us while you're driving. Don't watch, but listen to us. And
I've never been known to watch a game on my phone while driving. I have never done that.
Good for you. We don't encourage distracted driving behaviors.
No, I do not encourage that in any way, shape, or form. Do not ever follow my bad examples on anything, especially that. All right, Erik, appreciate the time. Again, I will see if I can get somebody after this. Last week I tried, and they went to do video, and it was running long, and I ended up leaving before I could get another person. But I will try again today. We shall see. If not, appreciate everybody for listening, and we are out. Here at the world-famous Kansas City Soccer Dome, as Erik always likes to say, I have with me Coach Stokic. How are you today, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
Not too bad. You've got a good start to the season, 2 outright wins, 1 overtime loss. Just what's your perception of how the team's doing so far?
I think we're doing well. I think we kind of, in the last game, I think we kind of lost ourselves a little bit because of other reasons. But I think in general the team is doing well. The mentality there is there. The quality is there, but we have to make sure we go back to kind of what we did in playoffs last season, is that mentality. And I felt like in the last game we kind of lost the edge a little bit, I would say. A little bit control of the game, worrying about things that were not important at that point, is the reffing and that kind of stuff. But I think, for the first 3 games of the season, I felt like it was we're getting there slowly.
Speaking of that last game, I mean, obviously there was a controversial moment there with a goal disallowed. What can you tell us about what happened there?
I don't want to waste too much time talking about that, because I think what's most important that we should have closed that game out, in my opinion, the way we started the game. But the reffing, the one thing that I felt like every ref is different, and the way they call the game. If they let things go, they don't let go. All I ask is for it to be both sides. So no matter how you ref the game, it has to be equally on the both sides. Yeah. They're demolishing Rian in the corner, don't even call a foul, right? And then 3 seconds later or before that, we touch whoever the target is, Haynes or Hoffman, and they call it like instantly. So my thing is, for me personally, is however you call the game, call it equally both sides. And the last thing that I would say about the reffing side, I don't want to waste time on that or talk too much. The explanation to me was, we have to be fair to Milwaukee. That was the answer that I got from Rich Grady. For me, I don't feel like that, they're being fair to one side and not the other side. What about us? My question was, no, we got to be fair to Milwaukee. Okay. So when you say that, okay, so this is where I'm going to end it, because I don't want to waste too much time, is the foul on Rian. I challenged it for it to be a blue card.
Right.
They call it a foul. Why does it not be fair to us and erase the yellow card? Because the reason why he got a yellow card was, now again, I'm not justifying what Rian did. He shouldn't have done that regardless, right? So we already had a conversation with that. But if you're going to be fair, just like you took away a goal that I should not, tell you right now, should not be taken away, because I've never seen that being taken away because it wasn't our fault. It's the ref fault.
Right.
So objectively, that's not on me or on us or on Milwaukee. It's on them, and they have to go. For me personally, and if it was a yellow card, they should have stopped the play. If it was a go on yellow card, blue card as it is, then the moment Garcia touched the ball, it should have been a whistle.
Right.
They should have stopped the play. They did not. Play goes on, so that means it's not a blue card. So we can go deep into it, but I'm just saying is if we're going to be fair, then that should not have been a red card or a yellow card for Rian. So what I'm saying is they should have erased the yellow card. So what I'm saying is if you're going to be fair one way, then it should be the fairness on the other way, right?
Because it's like the result of the they're correcting one potential screw up, but it creates another problem. So all of it should have just been corrected in the whole path.
So again, we get punished, they don't, and again, that's gonna happen. It's every ref kind of refs differently, but all I ask is for the refs to fairly ref the game. I don't believe I've never seen a blue card. A player has possession of the ball, does a slide tackle to play the ball back, touches the ball clearly, and he gets a blue card. I've been that player that has been slide tackling my whole life, and I've never got called for something like that. So, and then you have the ref that's right next to him saying play on ball, and then you have two other refs that are 50 yards away or whatever the yards is, and they're calling a blue card. So I think again, I'm not trying to point fingers or say that it's the ref fault. I think we put ourselves in that position, for me personally. But all I want is the reffing to be clear and fair, and one way or another, ref it the both ways. That's all I ask for.
Totally understandable. After that situation, which again I still have a lot of doubts about myself because I never saw the blue card actually out. I saw him reaching for it, but the video I have is not what was there. So I couldn't see it in person. But it is something that you stressed early in the season is closing out games.
Correct.
We talked about that before the season, that extra 4% better because you led all but 8 seconds of the game, so whatever tiny little percentage that is. How do you make that something where people regain their focus? Because I totally understand when there's a controversial moment, it's very easy to be focused on that. I've been in games where something weird happens and I'm mad about something, or my teammates are. How do you get the team to focus back on that, like just putting that aside and getting back to being the team that they should be?
It's the way we train. So the way we train and prepare for it. I think we're gonna have moments, and I think again, this is our third game in, and we haven't had this moment for how many for a while now, right? Off season. So it's just gonna retrain the brain again and get back into it, and it starts from practice. The thing too is when I reflect after that game is I ref most of the games at practice, right? And I call them the way I think it should be refed, right? But realistically, that's not how it's refed, right? I like it to be a little bit harder, stronger, and unfortunately, that's not how they ref. So I have to change the way I ref to replicate what they do, a little bit more than I did already had. So.
You ever throw in an intentional bad call just to see how they react?
Oh yeah. But now it's gonna be a lot more than usual. When I do it, it's like there and then. But now moving forward, it's gonna be a lot more.
Yeah, I think that would be very understandable, quite honestly. So you guys have, the overtime loss in Milwaukee obviously is disappointing, but still it's a strong start. 2 wins, you're 7 points, you're top of the table. You got. You played more games than most of the other teams, so we got several guys at the top of the scoring table. But how's that looking in the offense?
I think offensively, I think we create a lot of chances. We create a lot of opportunities. I think that there's some games that things shots don't go in,
right, and
we have to be able to deal with it. But I think objectively, our offensive power, I think it's been stronger than ever for a while now. I think from me personally, my thoughts on that, but. I think we have to be consistent. The other thing is that we talked about this week in preparation for Dallas and moving forward. We have to be a little bit more effective. We need to be a little bit more not just creative, but we have to execute. So we have an opportunity to execute. It's not just to possess the ball to possess it. We have to have an idea behind it of what we want to do and how we want to execute it. So being a little bit more persistent on that moving forward, that's one of the things that we're going to focus on is it being a little bit more persistent. Yes, we want to possess the ball, but we want to create that opportunity. And when we do, we have to take advantage of it. There's so many times that we've broken them down and we decide to go backwards.
Right.
The objective is to break them down to go where? forward.
Right.
So I think it's just, it's the beginning of the year. We're getting into a rhythm. We're getting in there. But I think, we're going to be focusing that on the offensive side of it.
And on the other end, obviously, pretty much every goal that's ever scored is a defensive breakdown, whether it's your team or the other team, whichever. But it felt like the last couple goals in Milwaukee that was given up were a little bit of a defensive breakdown of somebody diving in too early, not containing or whatever. And this is my outside view watching a video. You obviously had a much better view. How do you feel the defense is coming together? You've had some changes this year, obviously.
Yeah, so we have some new players, getting used to it and getting, players that have played in different environments and mindsets. So we have to get them to our mindset of how we do things here. And I think they've been doing a great job. Yes, there is moments, mistakes will happen. All we can control and do is just get better by each, by each day. So the 4% that we talked about in the beginning of the season. So, I felt like in this game, yes, we did make mistakes. But I don't think, for me personally, if you take out the context of the fouls, the blue cards, the this and that, I felt like we let that affect our game, okay? And that should never happen, number one. But secondly, I felt like we had moments that we did really good. I felt like moments that we controlled the game. Take away the first 10 minutes, 11 minutes. But I think objectively is, it hurt us having those two blue cards right after each other, right? That kills the rhythm, right? Now you have to get back into rhythm, Mikey being out. Danny, a new player that we brought in, trying to still figure out, we baptized them in a game that's really, really tough. That's a playoff game, right? Milwaukee. Right. So, it was a tough game for him. And then we had foul troubles. We had different things. So, it was kind of like a playoff game before the playoffs even start with everything that was going on. But I think for the most part, if that's what it takes for them to beat us and all that, then I feel really okay. I mean, to be honest with you, we have rotated already about 20 players within the squad in the first 3 games. Yeah. So for us, that is, that's a we've talked about in our coaches meeting on Monday, is that we're proud that we have rotated over 20 players in 3 games within our squad. So that's something for us to be proud of. And I think, again, like I said, if that's what it takes for them to beat us, I'm not as worried as I should that everybody thinks I am. So
cool. On the goalie side, Philip obviously had a couple of great games against St. Louis. Neto was, recuperating from a little bit of a knock. I know he could have played, but you were trying to protect him. But then you made the change to go to Milwaukee. Was that from the outside you could say, why did you change from the hot hand? But was it, Neto's so much more experienced keeper in this league, or was it just something different? What can you talk about that decision to change up and go with Neto in that game? Yeah,
I think it wasn't as much as the experience and maybe a little bit of that, but we have to have two good goalkeepers that need to be ready at any moment. So we need to give Neto a game. Right. When is that going to be? You can say, I should have done it on Saturday. I should probably do it later on, whatever it is. My thing is I wanted to, they need to have games in their feet. So, moving forward, it'll be, maybe Philip, it'll be Neto. So we're trying to get that because we're going to need both of them in the final. So the decision was, okay, he needs a game. Let's start getting games and go forward. So
rotating through also pushed them a little bit to, stay super sharp because they never know, or Correct. They're trying to be the better one.
Yeah, you want to keep the, I feel like it's a healthy kind of competitiveness between them, right? It's not, so we want to keep that going because you want them to keep improving and getting better, right? But I think if you give them playing time, and I don't know when I'm going to play, I make that during the week, but in general is we have a kind of a game plan of who we want to play when, and then by the middle of the season, who deserves it or who has a better outcome of it gets right. to play the rough part of getting into playoffs.
Cool. You haven't seen Dallas play yet this year. What do you expect from them?
I think Dallas is full of young kids and hungry and they're fast and they're technical. So, I'm expecting a fast transition game both ways. It's kind of like, it's kind of the unknown. They've watched us play 3 games. We haven't watched them play, yet. But I think what they did really good last year is they're ready. They have a couple young kids that are very creative, and I think we just got to be ready for their transition game a little bit. But again, they like to possess. They have some technical players, so we'll base it kind of off of any other game.
So just 3 games in, but is there any players that have stood out to you this year that have taken big steps or that have surprised you, or maybe you want to call it the other way? Maybe somebody's like not doing good, and you got to call them out on the pod.
Yeah, like I felt like compared to last year, I think Philip has stepped up, as you guys can see the first 2 games. I think he's improved. I liked Erik coming in from last year. I think he's improved, not just with his mentality, but his quality. I think DB as well has improved. I think we're talking about players from last year, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think they improved. They have improved. I feel like Acosta's improved compared to last year. I feel like Mikey's improved from last year. I feel so when you give it to, I think everybody has improved, a bit as well. But I think for me is most importantly is how we can improve as a team.
Speaking of new players, though, you mentioned you got Danny Malhue a little bit of time in this last game to get that experience. It's a big adjustment for a guy from outdoor that's got a ton of outdoor experience coming to the indoor game. How is that adjustment going?
The thing is at practice he does really, really good. He stands out with his decision making, his technical ability. His now it's the fact we can get him on the tactical side of it, understanding off the ball stuff, movement, kind of that stuff. And you can see a little bit in Milwaukee. He struggled a little bit, but it's going to take time for him to get into it. So, again, we just have to be patient with him.
With a team like this that expects immediate transition forward, immediate transition back, that's got to be it's a little bit of a mentality change for a guy who's played a ton of outdoor, because it's rarely that you got to react in the first second after something changes in outdoor. I mean, usually, I know coaches will still preach that, but it's a little less important maybe. How do you get that through to them, or is it just constant repetition in practice?
Constant repetition. At practice, talking to him like he needs to, to buy in, right? So we talked about that last year. How long is it going to take these players to buy into what I want to do? It's just the same thing with him. He needs to buy into what we do, and it depends of him how long it takes him to do that.
All right. So any words of wisdom to the fans?
No, I mean I've talked about it last year, and I'll say this. I mean, the fans are unbelievable. We have, in my opinion, the best fans in the league, and we're very grateful. Just having them in that first game home was just that feeling. And I looked at the crowd at one point, and I just said how much I missed it, how much I love it. So being very grateful and thankful, and hope they keep coming and supporting us, and they are the 7th man for us on the field. So.
All right. Appreciate the time, Coach.
Thank you.
We're out. All right, back for another segment of the pod. I have with me Rian, the leading scorer in MASL at the moment. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me, Thad.
3 games into the season, 2 wins, and overtime loss. A little bit of controversy there, but just how do you feel like the overall season has started, man? You're doing well. You're being a beast out there. So.
I think we're doing well as a team. Obviously, we would like to start 3-0 and not have that overtime loss. But it's good that things like that happen early in the season rather than later, so we can adjust and fix whatever we have to.
I know Coach talked in preseason about trying to be 4% better, because there was games last year where you lost in the team lost in the last few seconds of a game and stuff like that, and it was really big focus. And it kind of came back again this last game. How is that going for you guys? How do you feel that's going, I guess?
We have to do better. We have to learn from last year. That's something we've been talking a lot about it, and now we have to start performing. We cannot allow ourselves to concede a goal in the last 8 seconds, but I don't believe it's just that. I don't think we can go a whole half or 3 quarters only scoring 1 goal. I don't think that's acceptable for a team of our caliber. So there are a lot of things we have to work on to get better, but we have the time. That we just need to make sure we're not committing the same mistakes over and over.
The team has been scoring really well, like you said, except for half of this last game. But it's even the previous games where you weren't maybe scoring a lot in the half, the guys were shutting down the other team at the same time. It was kind of a lockdown defense there. How has that offense been going for you? Again, you're leading scoring. It's early. I guess I'm trying to find the right question here. I apologize, but it just seems like the team has been clicking on offense, except for a few moments here and there. Mm-hmm. What's been the strength so far?
We've been able to now start learning a little bit more the tendencies of each other, what we like to do on and off the ball. It's the second year for a lot of the guys like Leo Acosta, Mike Lennis, We got Lecia back now, so it's going to take some time to gel and make sure we're learning each other's movements. But I think we're doing well apart from those last 3 quarters from the Milwaukee game. But we'll only get better from here.
All right, so I do have to ask about the Milwaukee game. Don't say anything that's going to get yourself in trouble, because that's not the goal here. But just, what happened on that play?
There were many plays. I just believe that we have to learn how to react a little bit better, and I'm putting myself out there. I made a mistake. The refs are human just like us. We make mistakes on the field as players. The refs will also make mistakes. No matter how bad we think the mistakes are, we have to focus on what we can control, and that's something we cannot control. We just have to put our heads down and work and focus on what we can get better.
You did get a yellow for comments to the ref. Was it in English or Portuguese? Or
a little bit of both. I'm
gonna have to learn some Portuguese now. I'm not sure if that's. I don't know if those words are in Duolingo though. Maybe you just need to say all in Portuguese. I don't know how many refs are going to understand you.
Yeah, I mean, from now on, I'm going to try to hold myself to not saying English or Portuguese. So just focus on what I can control.
That's probably the best bet, and probably why Coach was giving you a hard time on, because Rian was walking up as Coach was walking away from where I'm recording the pod, and Coach was kind of giving him a little bit of a hard time. I was curious. I was trying to read your lips on that one video, but probably best I don't do that. I guess just you talked about how teams gelling and stuff. What's been like the most fun part of this season so far?
I believe the off season is always a hard time because we spend about 5 to 6 months together, and then we go for another 5-6 months where we basically don't see each other. And I feel like we have a very good group over here. We basically treat each other like family. We fight like brothers do. We love each other like brothers do, and we're always looking for each other. So it's good to be back. Obviously, we have the same goals as last year, and we want to finish the job this year. But again, just make sure we're taking day by day, game by game, so that way we can fight for what we want towards the end of the season.
Did you do anything fun in the off season?
I played a few tournaments here and there, scored some goals here and there, but yeah, it was a fun off season.
Winning any championships? No.
A few tournaments here and there, but yeah, the big one that I wanted to win, we ended up losing in the semifinals at TST.
Yeah.
But hopefully we can come back this year and win it all.
That's a fun tournament. A lot of people enjoyed watching that.
Oh yeah, man, great tournament, great environment, very good organization overall. It's a nice tournament to be part of.
I almost wonder if you could run a league kind of like that, but.
That's a good question.
Well, I'll have to look into it.
Yeah.
I don't think I have the money for it. Instead of $1 million prize, I'd be giving out the $10 prize.
I'll take $5. We can do 15.
All right, man. I'll see if I can rig the refs in your favor if that's the case. Just kidding. All right, Dallas is coming up. I know, we haven't seen them play yet this season. Is there anything you know about them already?
When we're playing teams that haven't played yet, it's hard to judge what they will be because teams can change from season to season. But we'll watch film based on last season and take a look at the players they have now and kind of go from there.
All right, tough questions here. On the Comets, who's going to end the year leading in goals? You, Zach, somebody else?
I always say me wherever I go, but Zach did lead the team and lead the league in scoring, so I would say me or Zach.
Probably, I would say, I don't know, man. It's a tough choice for me, but you got to stay healthy.
Yeah, I know.
I feel like every year we talk about that a little bit, and then you're out for a month or maybe longer sometimes. But I think if you stay healthy, man, you're going to be right there.
Yeah, those are, and again, things that I try to control. I try to do my exercises every day, take care of my body. But when someone just comes and kicks the crap out of you, there's not much you can do about it. But again, knock on wood, hopefully I'll stay healthy and be able to play the whole 24 games and going healthy into the playoffs.
Who's going to lead in assists on the Comets?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'm putting myself there, Zach there as well. I'd say Nacho can be a good one. Watch out for Lecia as well. Lecia can find some very good assists as well.
I think Acosta's got a couple of them in there too so
Leo
far.
as well, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of good choices in this team, man. Mm-hmm. One of those kids might come out of nowhere and start scoring goals too.
True. We have Mikey. We have Lucas as well that's been out for now. But, again, another guy that can lead the team in scoring as well.
All right. Anything to say to the fans before I let you go?
Looking forward to see you guys on Sunday. I love you guys. By far the best fans in the whole league, and I appreciate the atmosphere you guys bring to us every game.
Hey, I appreciate it, and good luck. Well, not only in this upcoming game, but on the rest of them.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, we're out.